Alright, so I'm going to do another video review here. So this is going to be my Squire Vigfuss, who's in the blue lamellar versus a newer fighter. So this was taken this year, just a small practice amongst some close friends. Um, so, you know, I'm just going to review this one fight. There's a total of 17 minutes of footage here, but that's a lot of time to review things. So I'm just going to review this one fight here. So let me just switch the speed. I'm going to play it at normal speed first, and then I'll go back and review it. So give commentary while I watch it fight. So let me just turn up the volume a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right. So we can see this newer fighter seems to move around a lot. He kind of he moves around. He does some decent like foot positioning. It's not too bad, but he definitely is like kind of jumpy and things like that. He could use to calm down some. Vigfuss here is a little shorter than him. All right, and there was the killing blow. So the killing blow there was a slot shot right to the center line. So we're gonna go back to this starts about here, and one of the things here that I want to point out is this right here. So what is really nice here for the newer guy is all my old stuff came up. Let's clear that. All right, there we go. So what was really nice here is slow this down a little bit more. We'll go back to here. So this guy's moving around a lot, but what is cool is if you watch, his arc goes around Vigfuss like this. And what ends up happening is Vigfuss stays planted here. So here we go. Comes around. And so this right here is the issue. We can see his feet are right next to each other, which typically what I look at is if the feet are right next to each other like this, that means that they can't move very far or very quickly. They have to reposition their feet and extend it in this particular direction and then move with it. So that doesn't really give them much opportunity to move fast or to react very well. On top of that, because his feet are in this position, he is very straight up and down. His hips are about right here. His shoulders are here. He's already committed to a shot here. So he's committed, and he's no longer, his energy projection, if you would take a look at where like the belly button focus is at, he's going this way with his projection. So he's well outside the ability of being able to deliver a good hit. He might be able to get a short stick in on this area here on the head if that's a viable target. But he's stood up. He's projecting the wrong way. He's pushing his energy the wrong way. If he turns his shoulders, they turn like this, which implies that his power would come closer to where his belly button points. That's something that I use to kind of outline to people where their power, their energy is going to flow. Is kind of where your belly button points to, because when you throw a shot, your core turns with you, and so as your core turns and you're throwing that shot, you're crossing through your target, hopefully. So it helps out if that's there. So as we watch through this, he sits there and he stood straight up, repositions. Thankfully, his opponent cuts out of the fight and disengages. So this is a good response. This is what I like to teach my guy, my squire, is that if someone's coming in, you don't like what they're doing, stop them. And a good way to stop them is by throwing an attack on them. So here, he just throws an onside, stops him. But again, so his opponent takes that and goes out this way. But Vigfuss does the right thing here and cuts back this way. So, and he's still in guard, ready to go. Where his opponent, on the other hand, threw his shield up, blinded himself, and couldn't see what was going on for a moment. That's not really he's not really there. The bad thing is though is because of Vigfuss, both fighters blinded themselves of the other person's face, but his opponent, looking at the angle of his head, saw down here and sees this opening here on his leg. There's a nice shot that he can throw. Unfortunately, his opponent doesn't have quite the control that he needs to land the shot, so he misses, hits the knee. But Vigfuss unfortunately doesn't recognize it because he's just walking out. So as he's walking out, he's pushing with because he threw his sword foot forward, he's pushing off with this foot here. So his energy is pushing back, and then he recovers onto his shield foot, causing it to plant. And so what ends up happening is, the planted leg, as we watch this again, he pushes, plants that leg, and gets hit right in the knee. So that's a low call, what was being heard there. So he's got his shield up, he's moving around, he's getting out of the space. So what we see here is the opponent goes for a thrust, tries to show a thrust. Thankfully, Vigfuss responds to it, but doesn't do a lot. He puts his shield down enough to divert the thrust if it does happen, but doesn't. But it shows the fighter that this is going to be open. So his opponent is trying to go for a shot. So he goes for an offside though. So where most people would have probably tried for an onside. But instead he went for an offside. Which is interesting because what Vigfuss does is he then tries to throw an offside as well. Because what happens here is he's very exposed. His shield's here, his arm's up here, and his sword is somewhere over here. Oh, no, it wasn't. Let's clear that. So, yeah. So when I stopped it, his sword was already trying to go over Vigfuss's sword. So he's trying to swing over this with that sword. So what Vigfuss does is instead covers his head with his sword and then tries to throw an immediate response into here. So he's trying to hit the armpit. Doesn't land. And it's mainly because it just drives down on his basket. But what we see here is the opponent, again, has started to slide over to Vigfuss's left, or to Vigfuss's right. The opponent went to his left, but Vigfuss is now looking this way. His body is facing this way. So his opponent's got good positioning on him, which is not necessarily good for Vigfuss, because his opponent is looking this way at him. Vigfuss isn't looking that way at all. So his body isn't looking that way. So he's not going to be able to really recover. I mean, his shield's there, and we can even see, like, here, his sword is right here. He's attempting to start to do something. But because he didn't have the right control on his sword, he wasn't able to throw a good shot. He ends up missing. Hits his knee. Vigfuss puts his sword up against the body, and just bad shots both sides. Someone probably could have landed a shot there, but not. So this is better on Vigfuss's part. So Vigfuss goes for the offside, which does a good job of freezing him. So His opponent, though, immediately is walking and swings his shield foot from back here over to here. So really interesting because his opponent is immediately trying to circle around him because of the response, because of what Vigfuss does. So Vigfuss throws that offside, and then his opponent immediately comes over, does this little hop to catch himself, and Vigfuss instead tends to flow more with his steps, so he'll do more full foot motions, moves around, steps back, and goes up to catch something, and his opponent tries to do his opponent rushes. Vigfuss does a good thing, steps to the side, steps to his sword side. I would have liked to seen Vigfuss try to throw like a wrap shot, because right here would have been a great opportunity to throw a wrap shot here, because his opponent's energy is already directed past him. There's his opponent was going like this. Vigfuss was doing the right thing of skirting out this way. So this leg shot here was very open. It would have been a great shot to hit on him. But that's okay. Not a big deal. His opponent goes for, I'm not really even sure what his opponent was trying to do, but throws his sword up and ends up just setting it on his other sword. Sometimes you see this in the Middle Kingdom, where someone will rush in and then try to trap with their sword, and it's a great way to wear someone down, but it doesn't really, you're not really doing anything. Usually what happens is they do that, they throw the sword over the shield, over the sword, they wear them down a little bit, and then when they go for the break, people tend to sometimes will break poorly and just throw themselves off without keeping a guard up, and so they'll get hit in the head and things like that. So it happens from time to time. It's not the best thing in the world, and I'm guilty of it too, though. So that leg shot could have been thrown better. So we're here, and again, Vigfuss has kind of stood up. His feet are right here. They're very close together, which isn't necessarily a bad thing in like this, because he still has his sword foot forward here, his sword foot back here, his shield foot forward there. So he's in a position to throw, but he's still more or less trying to move. So he just arms a shot in on the leg. Not necessarily the best of shots to try to throw there. Just a quick arm shot, but it is what it is, and his opponent has a good block on it. So very solid on his shield, that shot. So if we watch here, his opponent tries to do an offside, but if we see here, this is his opponent's sword, and this is Vigfuss's sword here. So Vigfuss is able to catch. It looks like Vigfuss catches this on his sword, so which is good. Otherwise, that probably would have been a kill shot, because it doesn't look like it deflected off his shield at all. Just it looked like he had the sword caught. And again, his opponent goes for the leg shot. So his opponent knows the locations on where to go for, and he's seeing the openings, but he's not able to really hit them. And there might have been some connection there, but it wasn't. I mean, honestly, his opponent is sitting there hitting and stepping away from his shot, and how his opponent turns, he's turning his power away from his shot, and so driving it forward. Again, I talk about that belly button, focusing the energy, and you want to get that to cut through your opponent. Here, he's moving his core, his belly button, away. And I use the belly button just as a representation of it, just because I feel that everyone knows where their belly button is. Everyone can kind of visualize where their belly button is and where it's pointing to. So like my belly button's pointing this way. It's here. It's here. It gives you a good representation of your core, kind of a shot location. But here we can see he's already turned away. His foot for a sword foot is already back like this. You can see he's pivoting on his shield foot here. because of just the angle of everything, it looks awkward, because it is. And so that's it. So even if there was any connection, it would have been a light shot to the leg. So so as he steps away, covers him, they step out of range. That would have been a great, when he does this here, that would have been a great opportunity to throw a real quick flat snap to the head. The opponent is out of position by a lot. His shield is way down here. His sword is over here. This is all open here. So this is a great opportunity, as long as you're ready and you're in guard. And this is why it's important to stay in guard, even once the fight looks like it's broke engagement. Staying in guard, ready to throw, because with a quick lunge, it could have happened. Vigfuss could have got the sword up here and hit him in the head with a clean shot, and I'm very confident of it. Even if there is, at range, he's at like a D range, outside of the typical C range. C range, how I usually talk about it. C range is where you have to like either take a step in or you have to lean in to hit the shot. D range would be you have to fully step. You can't get away from it. So as we sit here and watch it again, so his opponent comes in, and again, his opponent's coming in kind of nonchalantly. I don't think this guy practices often, because he's showing that he's tired already, because he's not keeping his shield up, and he's taking these big steps. And so this is a really nice pressure that Vigfuss shows here. So if you watch Vigfuss here, so his opponent, he raises his guard up a little bit, and his opponent does this big dramatic rise, and then Vigfuss' arm goes from being up here to now it's down here. And so what that ends up doing is it sends notification, sends pressure to his opponent that I'm going to throw your leg. I'm going to throw at your leg. And then Vigfuss immediately comes back up. So now there's this huge gap here, right here, that Vigfuss created. Great pressure on his part. It's just, I don't think, as we watch it, he's not going to be able to capitalize on it. He throws, he does the right thing. He throws right here, but unfortunately his opponent, catches it with his sword. Because right here his opponent got his sword in this position here, and he's ready to catch it. I don't think it's he's going for those tent blocks, where you put your shield down, your sword over your head, and you basically form this like A, or this tent over your head with your forearm over here and your sword over here, and you can catch anything on the onside. But it's when they go offside that's when you get your armpit shot, your nipple shots. Really hurts. So he just gets lucky, catches that. Again, Vigfuss is a shorter guy, so he's like 5'6" height. So he feels the need to stand up and get himself positioned upright, so he can feel like he can he's not as short as he is, but a lot of that time that's him robbing himself of power. So unfortunately, we don't want to see him doing that as much. I want him seeing little squat down, not like all the way down on the ground, but just a little bit lowered, so he's got that flexibility in his knees. So again, just repositioning, reposturing. His opponent's still just kind of trudging in on him. There's a nice onside. So, in this final pass here, his opponent comes in. Vigfuss, so we know there's a problem. This is Vigfuss' arm here. We see his basket right here, his sword edge. Okay. So, based off of what I can see here, this is probably his arm. His opponent's shield, though, is like this, which means Vigfuss' arm is hooked inside of his opponent's shield. Not a good position, especially when the basket isn't fully there. So it's more of it's his elbow is hooked inside the shield. His basket's still out. So Vigfuss isn't able to really generate a shot from here at all. He's got to try to outmuscle a guy who is bigger than him. Not going to be good for him. So his opponent, is what's interesting is his opponent gives up that pressure on the arm, but he does take a leg shot in here. So he does hit this leg shot right here on Vigfuss because Vigfuss has stood up. He's raised up to catch the shot to his head, which it is what it is. His opponent's hand positioning looks kind of off. It looks like that was an attempt at a wrap, but it might have ended up flat. But regardless, he still got tagged. He still got tagged in the leg, and you can see the deflection of the sword, meaning that he definitely got hit there. Power, I'm not going to comment on power. I don't know if the power was there or not. But what we can see here, though, is Vigfuss, as he gets hit, because his opponent took this sidestep here to the left, opened up his shield. Vigfuss' arm is still right there in position, and then just drops a slot shot right down on the inside of his shield, inside of his sword. So in this shot here, Vigfuss scores the killing blow. He might have traded a leg for it. I don't know if that shot was going to be counted or not because you can't really hear it in the video. But he's essentially, from what I can see, he traded a leg shot for a body shot, which always a good trade. Much rather get hit in the leg than in the body. So if you can take that, go to the bank with it. Awesome. But overall, so this is kind of just one of his analysis of his fights. Again, there's like 17 minutes of fight footage here, and this was only just roughly 28 seconds of fight, or so it wasn't that much. But the good thing is he did get the win out of here. There are things that both opponents can work on here. So Vigfuss can work on one, his movement. He does a lot of these full steps as he walks. He's walking everywhere he's going, which is okay. But what I'd like to see him is when he's engaged in fight, I'd like to see more controlled steps to move around to reposition himself. Half steps, shuffle steps, things along those lines. Repositioning when an opponent slides left on him, to his shield side, he mirrors it. Doesn't do the opposite of it, where we start to get into this like circle effect. So if his opponent in here would shoot out this way, I would like to see Vigfuss shoot out this way as well. And then that way, you're always mirroring what's going on. And it does a couple things. It helps make sure that you're always facing your opponent in the same position, but also it's kind of unsettling. Most people expect to see a toilet bowl effect going on. So if you look at most fights that happen, most fighters will, swirl, do something like this, where he goes this way and Vigfuss would go this way. That's how most fights happen. You see this kind of toilet bowl effect. You see it in the boxing. You see it everywhere. So if you change up that and you do this, and you go and you mirror your opponent, it's a little unsettling for them because they're not used to it. They're not expecting it, and it can be a little frustrating. But it keeps you in position. So I'd like to see that type of movement on him. For his opponent, I think his opponent needs to practice his shots a bit more. He can see the openings, and he's got, he knows where to put himself. So he knows where to put himself. He knows where he should be throwing, but he's not as good as he could be at those things. So if he worked on his movement and practicing his movement, and I think him and Vigfuss working together would be really good to practice movement so they can practice mirroring each other and things like that. I think that would be really helpful. And if he can work on his shot placement, so he's throwing his shots nice, crisp, and clean. I think that would help him out a lot because I saw a wrap shot in there that was kind of goofy or odd. A lot of shots were just kind of coming in wonky. So working on that shot selection. So going through the 1 through 6 drill, practicing that. 1 1 1 2 1 3. Learning how to transition between those blows and hitting in the same spot every time, and being able to then, once you go through that enough times, adjusting it some. So now instead of hitting a rising flat snap for one, you hit it at a different angle or something along those lines. That could help them out. And then being able to then, once you do that, then moving into doing that with movement included into it. So as you move, you throw. And you're learning to throw. I think that would help them out. So unfortunately, these guys aren't close to me. I'm in Northeast Ohio. These guys are in like the middle of Michigan. So they are a bit away from me. So my squire Vigfuss does come down to Northeast Ohio from time to time. So I help him out when he's down there. He's originally from here, so that works out for him. But I think those are the things that I would have them work on if they were going to continue to fight together. Is work for Vigfuss, work on movement with his opponent, making sure he's staying in position, defensive position, doing that mirroring drill where you move left, I move right, so we mirror each other. So he moves this way, Vigfuss moves this way, they're parallel. And then for the newer fighter here, this guy here, work on those shots, making sure those shots are being hit crisp and clean. And I think that will help them out a lot. So, all right, well, that's it for this recording. So, thanks.